What you're going to need is googliness.
So if you've just got yourself a Google Pixel Fold or you have any of the other Pixel devices, I'm gonna give you 10 hidden tips and tricks that you can use straight away to help you unlock the full potential of your Pixel device. And I have done a first things to do video for the Pixel Fold, as well as camera tips and tricks for the Pixel devices and Pixel 7 Pro specific tips and tricks as well. So if you want to check out any of those, stick around to the end and there'll be thumbnails for those. And if you are following along, then definitely do this. Bring up your apps tray, search for the settings and actually drag it somewhere onto the home screen so you have quick access to it. You don't have to swipe down to get to it all the time. But anyway, let's stop wasting time and let's get straight into it. Tip number 1, go to settings, scroll down to digital well-being and parental controls. Now on this page, you'll see in the top right corner, I've got the beta version of this, and you can apply for the beta program by hitting the 3 dots and just going here. So if you haven't done that, it's worth doing because you get to test out some of the tools before everybody else. And on this page, something else worth doing is show the icon in the apps list. That way, if you want to, you can add the digital wellbeing parental controls to your home screen. Now, when you're on the digital wellbeing and parental controls page, scroll down. So you see this, focus mode. This is something that I think a lot of people don't do and they really should do straight away, especially if you want to get things done and be less distracted, because when it is time to get things done, I recommend you take Mr. Miyagi's advice.
What do you expect me to do?
Focus.
So in this list here, you can select the apps that distract you the most, tick all of the apps that you don't want distracting notifications from when you're trying to focus. And once you've done that, hit the 3 dots in the top right corner and you can add a shortcut to the quick settings. And as you see here, when you do that, now you can drag down from the top and toggle on and off the focus mode as and when you need to use it. And something else you can do is set a schedule. So if you know, for example, you're going to be at school or college or university or work, on certain days between certain hours, you can set a schedule here so that this automatically switches on without you having to do it manually. So this will help you automate your life a bit. But if you want to take it to the next level and make using your phone even more dynamic, check this one out. Go to settings, scroll down to system, and on this side, scroll down to rules. Now this one is slightly more complex, but just keep in mind, you only really need to set this up once. So what you can do is you can set a rule for locations where you always connect to the Wi-Fi. So let's say every time you go to work, you use your work's Wi-Fi. What you can do here is always allow location for rules. Hit next. This will allow your location services to track where you are and to apply rules based on your location. But what you can also do when you're setting the rule up is use the Wi-Fi network as well. And once you tap on this, you do get the option to choose either location or Wi-Fi network. And at that point, you can tell it what you want it to do. Do not disturb, silent, vibrate, or set device to ring. And if you're not sure about this, what you can do is let the phone figure out your day-to-day routines and it will actually suggest rules for you as long as this box here is ticked. So number 3 is an important one, and it's something that a lot of people forget to do and don't realize that they should have done it until they actually needed it. So don't be one of those people. Go to settings, scroll down to safety and emergency. Now open the personal safety tab. And this really should have been in my first things to do video, but you should set up all your personal information, your emergency contacts and all this kind of stuff in case the worst happens. And there's a bunch of features here which you can use straight away, including this one, the safety check. So if you ever find yourself walking home alone at night and you're a bit concerned, you're a bit worried, maybe you're in a bad neighborhood, what you can do is actually set up a safety check feature on the phone. And the way this works is the phone will check that you're all right periodically during your travels. And at this point, when it pops up, you can slide to say, I'm okay. Or you can start sharing your location, or you can do an emergency call straight away if something dodgy is happening. And if you don't check in, it will automatically share your real-time location with your emergency contact so they can see exactly where you are on the Google Maps. Okay, let's expand on these safety features a little bit further because there's another feature here which I forgot to set up on day one. So if you go back to settings, scroll down, safety and emergency once again, open the safety tab once again, but this time we're going to go to features and we're going to scroll down to where it says car crash detection. So your Pixel phone will use the sensors to detect any major shift in gravity around you, and if there is one, it could indicate that you've been in some kind of collision. And in a scenario like that, your phone will ask you using its voice whether you're okay, and you can respond with your voice.
Calling 999 automatically in 20 seconds. Say cancel to stop.
And if you don't respond, it will automatically call the emergency services for you.
You said emergency. Calling 999 now.
Whoops. Don't do what I just did. Give it the correct command to tell it what to do in that scenario. And you can, of course, cancel that as well if it happens to be a mistake, if you're on a roller coaster or something like that.
Car crash detected. Say.
So definitely take some time and set this up. Your phone can do it, so you might as well use it, because maybe one day it could save your life. And if it does, make sure you come back to this channel and hit that subscribe button. All right, next one. So if you've just jumped across from iOS to Android, you'll be familiar with AirDrop. If you're on Android, you might be familiar with Nearby Share. And if you're not, you should be, because it's a method of sending files, photos between Android devices without any compression. If you're the type of person who sends photos to the person sitting next to you via WhatsApp, trust me, you're doing it wrong, because WhatsApp compresses that photo and you lose a lot of the data in the image by transferring it that way. Doing it this way is the best way. So check this out. Go to your settings, scroll down to where it says Google Services and Preferences. Here, you'll be prompted to add your phone number if you haven't already. And it's very important that you do this, because once you do it, you can send files and photos to your contacts in your phone book, as long as they've got Android phones as well, instantly with Nearby Share. Scroll down to where it says Device and Sharing. And here where it says Nearby Share, again, make sure you've added your phone number. If you haven't done it, it will prompt you here to do it. You can rename your device, and I do recommend you do this. Give it a unique name, not just the name of the device you're using. And depending on how you feel about it, you might want to enable device visibility. Now, once you've set this all up, what I recommend you do is bring down your notification shade and hit the little pen icon here and look for the Nearby Share shortcut. Once you find it, hold your finger down on it and drag it up to your quick shortcuts so that it's there every time you bring down your notification shade. Now, the next time you want to send a beautiful image or a large file to someone else who's on Android, and preferably in your phone book, you can do it really, really quickly. You just go to the image or file you want to send, hit the share option here, and you'll see the option for Nearby Share. Once you do that, as long as you're within Bluetooth range of the person you want to send it to, and their Nearby Share is set up, you can instantly send it to them. The way it works is the Bluetooth connection initiates the kind of handshake, and then it will send the data over Wi-Fi. So it will be really quick, but most importantly, there'll be no compression. Okay, so if you've got the Pixel Fold, you've got a big screen, and the keyboard on the big screen is actually really nice. For me, it's almost perfect, but you can actually tailor the experience so that it's more comfortable for your hands specifically. And a lot of people don't know how to do this, and now you're not going to be one of those people. And I do recommend you play around with this and find what works best for you. So to do it, go to your settings, scroll down to System. Here you want to go to Languages and Input, scroll down to On-Screen Keyboard, and then tap here where it says Gboard. This is the default keyboard, and it is the best one for this phone. Now here, there's a bunch of customization that you can do, but I'm not going to go too in depth into all of them. I'm just going to show you a couple. And in order to access the first one, we need to go to Preferences. And then here you'll see this feature, Number Row. Now, just so I can show you this properly, let's open up a split screen. And if you don't know how to do this, you open up your backgrounding and you'll see Split here. So I'm going to go to Split, and I'm going to split it with the Docs app. Now you can see how the keyboard is right now. We have all of our keys here, and if you're the type of person who does a lot of work with numbers, then you're definitely going to want to activate the Number Row, because right now, let's say I want to write down a phone number, I have to hold my finger down on each key to add a number. Now check this out. If we activate the Number Row, when I go back to the keyboard, I now have all of the numbers right there, and I don't have to hold my finger down at all. It's so much quicker. So if you do work with numbers, activate the Number Row. Now, staying on the same page, here's the next thing you want to look at. You want to customize the usage of the keyboard specifically for your hand size. So if you have particularly big hands or small hands, you definitely want to look at this. Scroll down to where it says keyboard height. Here you can adjust the keyboard between many different settings. And just to give you guys an example of the difference between the extra short and the extra tall, So this is the extra short keyboard, and you can see it's squashed right down here at the bottom of the screen. If you have small thumbs, small hands, this might work better for you. And then if you go extra tall, you can see it takes up way more of the screen. The keys are bigger, making them easier for your thumbs to reach if you happen to have giant thumbs. So definitely play around with this one. There's a lot of different settings here to choose from, so you can get the custom fit for your hands. And this is an important one because you're probably going to use your keyboard a lot on your phone. Now stay on this same settings page for this next tip. And if you've already skipped away from it, let me show you how to get back there real quick. Scroll all the way down to System, Languages and Input, On-Screen Keyboard, Gboard, and then you're back. I know it's kind of buried away. That's why it's one of the hidden tips and tricks. Now check this one out, text correction. So there's a bunch of stuff here which is off by default that could be really handy for you. For example, suggest contacts. So if you're trying to spell someone's name and they have a really strange spelling to their name, it will use the contacts in your phone book as a reference. So if you begin to type it, it will auto-complete that name. And my surname, for example, is really tricky, and no phone would ever correct it if you got it wrong. But this phone would if you had my full name in your phone book. So enabling this allows you to add names in your phone book to the dictionary. Now on the same page, if you scroll down, you'll see there's a bunch of stuff you can do that's going to help your auto correction. For example, a space after a punctuation can be inserted automatically. If you click backspace, when it auto corrects for you, it can undo the auto correct. So if you want to spell something incorrectly, which I may or may not do in some of my videos, you can override the auto correct. So that's a good one to have in my opinion, particularly if you use a lot of slang in your messaging. So take a look at this, make sure you customize it so that it suits your day-to-day usage of the phone. Do it once, do it right, and then you never have to do it again. Now this is an important setting which was off by default for me, and it's something that I always use where I live because the phone signal is not great, but my Wi-Fi is fantastic. Well, at least it should be, the amount of money I'm paying for it. Check this out. If you ever find yourself in a location where there's no data from your network provider, but you do have Wi-Fi, this is going to be invaluable for you. Go to Settings, Network and Internet. When you're on this page, you should see SIMs. And once you tap that, you can go into the SIM options. Now this may vary depending on your provider, but what you can do here is if you scroll down is enable Wi-Fi calling. Like I said before, this is off by default. So when I first put my SIM in this phone and I was getting phone calls, they were constantly struggling to hear me on the other side. The calls were cutting out. Once I enabled this, my very expensive internet took over whenever there was weak signal, which of course solves the problem completely. Now there's a lot of advantages to being a Google Pixel owner, and here's a big one. It is Google One. So if this app isn't on your home screen, you can do a quick search and find it. It will be pre-installed on your Pixel device. Once you open it, it will give you an update on how much of your storage you're using, and it will probably prompt you to buy some more. That's entirely up to you. There's some great tools here actually to clean up old files and stuff like that could be taking up space on your Google storage. But that's not what I want to show you. What we're focusing on here is actually this, the VPN that ships with Google Pixel devices by default. This is incredibly useful for whenever you're on a Wi-Fi network that you don't trust, but you might need to connect to. So in those scenarios, you can enable the VPN that's built into your device. You don't have to pay for this. It does come with it for free. And once you enable this, you'll get this connection request. Now what this will do is essentially hide your device's IP address, protecting you from hackers and other people that are on that shared network. And trust me, being on a shared network is very risky. So it's important you utilize this tool whenever you need to run the risk of connecting to these hotspots. And a little follow-up to this, just so that this is easier to switch on and off as and when you need to use it. If you bring down your notification shade here, hit the little pen here, you can actually find the VPN tab and drag it up onto your quick settings so you can access it really quickly next time. Now, one of the big advantages of the Pixel Fold device is the unfolded display. It's huge. You've got way more real estate here to play around with when it comes to apps and things like this. And I do like how when you open apps, the taskbar disappears. But if you want to have that taskbar there more permanently, you can do it. And this is how. Go into Settings, scroll down to System. Here, you want to go to Gestures. Now, instead of using swipe gestures, if you use the navigation buttons, this overrides the hidden taskbar. So go to System Navigation, scroll down to 3-button navigation, and now you'll see the taskbar is permanently on the screen. And this is kind of more like what we see on the Galaxy Fold devices. And I do think some people will prefer this. I do feel like the buttons are better for the big screen and the swipe gestures are better for the folded screen. Maybe we'll see Google add that in an update in the future, but at the moment, whatever you set here is front screen and inside screen. So thank you guys for making it this far into the video, and this is a Google Pixel video. So of course I got to do a couple of camera tricks. I do have a dedicated video full of them, so I will link that at the end, but try these out. So let's open the camera app, and you'll see in the top left corner, you have the options menu. Now, if you expand that, you'll see a feature here called Top Shot, and by default, it is on auto. Now, if you activate this on all the time, what this does is essentially captures a series of photos every time you take a picture, and you can choose the best one out of the lineup. And to access your Top Shot photos, all you need to do is hit the 3 dots, top right corner here. You'll see all of the shots lined up across the bottom here. You can pick your best one and choose that as your main photo. Now, something that's not on by default, which you should enable straight away in my opinion, is this. So if you go to your settings menu, top left corner again, go to more settings here, and you'll see if you scroll down the advanced section, go to that and enable this RAW and JPEG. So if you're not familiar with RAW, essentially what that is a much bigger file than a JPEG. And when you have more data in an image, when you put it into a software, any photo software pretty much, you'll have way more colors, way more information in the shadows and in the highlights to play with, essentially allowing you to enhance the image or make it even more realistic than how the phone has interpreted it. So it's great to have that option available when you need to use it. Now, let's say you find yourself on the beach and the sun looks amazing in the background, but you want to capture everything in the foreground. You can take these RAW photos just by opening your settings here and toggling on the RAW option here. Okay, so here's the final bonus tip for you guys, and this one really impressed me, and I've seen it before, but it's really come a long way since I last used it on the Pixel 7 Pro. It's improved significantly, and that is the magic eraser, but also some of the other effects now available within the Google Photos app. So make sure you open the Google Photos app, go to a photo like this where there's lots of noise in the background. And what we got here is a picture I took at the London Comic Con, and it's a girl dressed up as a Titan from Attack on Titan, the anime. If you haven't seen that, it's pretty crazy, but it's cool. Check this out. Open the photo that you want to clean up, go to edit, and you'll see there are a bunch of tools that will pop up. These are suggested tools. So I'm going to show you guys how to manually get there in case it doesn't suggest the tool you're looking for. So just scroll across here until you see this, the tool option. Now you have Magic Eraser, Unblur, Portrait Blur, and Sky. Now check out how good the Magic Eraser has got now. There are lots of people in the back of this scene. And you can see right now it's highlighted all of the people in the background, and I can delete all of them automatically with one click. That is pretty amazing. But let's say we don't want to erase everybody, we want to keep some people in the image. You can literally tap on these one by one and choose specifically what you don't want in the photo. So you can spend quite a bit of time fixing this image. Let's give it to that person there. You can see there's some yellow left there. We can draw around that. Gone. And check out this other feature here, the portrait blur. So we can add a blurry background effect after the fact, and it works really well. And if you've got a photo where there's a lot of sky in the image, you can go to sky here. This will select the sky in the image. There's not much of it in this one, so it's going to affect the whole image, but you can actually change the color of the sky in the background as well using these presets. So the Pixel Fold is truly an amazing device, and hopefully you've unlocked some more of its potential today. And if you got any value out of this at all, I'd appreciate a little thumbs up, a little subscribe. And if you want to check out how to master the camera or my first things to do with the Pixel Fold video, those thumbnails are on screen right now. Go check those out. And if you do, I will see you in the next one. Don't be late.